Hey there, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we'll try something on CloudTrail. We'll configure CloudTrail to send the logs to S3 bucket. Let's see how that is done. To start with, I'm going to take you to WizLab. WizLab is a service provider which helps you to create AWS sandboxes. Basically, it's your own testing environment. Doing this experiment for a beginner in your own AWS environment can be risky because you might end up in making some mistakes which either lead to some kind of a hacking, or probably you create services in your environment or probably in your account that gets built too much and you might not even realize that. So I would recommend, if you're a beginner or you're starting doing these things, right, learning AWS specifically, take something simple, which is like a sandbox environment, which has a very specific bill. For example, you can buy, spend around like 800 rupees a month and buy one account, one subscription, and then try whatever you want to try for at least 1 or 2 months. So you can get a hang of the whole environment, how it works. Once you get comfortable, then you go back to your actual account, a production account, or probably an AWS account that in your name, and then you can start experimenting additional features or probably something that you couldn't do in this kind of a sandbox environment. That's my advice. Yeah, I would strongly recommend using this kind of a testbed environment or a sandbox environment before you start doing actually on the real AWS cloud. So to start with, we can choose the duration for this sandbox environment. If you click here on the drop down, you have different timers available in hours. So you can choose from 1 hour to 9 hours. I'll take 1 hour for our experiment because it's a very small experiment. It's a short experiment which would hardly take around 30 hours if everything goes good. Yeah, let's start and see like how that goes. Okay, let me create a sandbox environment. Let me click here. It's going to take maybe 30 seconds to a minute to create the sandbox environment. Let's wait for a minute for this to get created. Okay, now we have a couple of things here, right? One is to destroy the sandbox environment. Okay, that's not that we want to click right now. And then at the top we have a time left, and we have this open console. We have a username here, password, access key, and secret key. So if you want to log in to a console, then you would use username and password. If you want to log in via an API using the CLI, then you would access key and secret key. For us, the username and password would be useful because we are going to use console. So let's click on open console. Okay, now we got account ID, IAM username, and the password. We'll go back to the previous window and then copy the IAM user. This is just a random number that was created by the account, and this is the password. Generally, when you do in a production account, you generally make use of something called SSO, single sign-on, which would connect to your Active Directory or something similar that you will have in your corporate environment, like a Jump Cloud or OneLogin. And then AWS would authenticate itself with those SSO identity providers, and then it would allow you to log in and do the operations. In this case, we are using IAM user and password. Let's click on sign in. Let's not click on remember this account at this time. Sign in. Let's not save the password, not required, because it's going to change every time I'm going to create a new sandbox environment. Okay, now what is objective? The objective is to create a CloudTrail trail and then send the logs to S3 bucket. So that means we need to use two services. One is CloudTrail and second one is S3. So let's go to the search bar at the top and then type CloudTrail. Okay, now it's here. You can select from the drop down menu here. There is also a star button. So if this something, if any service you want to use frequently, for example in this case CloudTrail, I will click this button so that it will come in the search bar. It will come in the favorite bar. Let me click on the CloudTrail right now. So clicking on the CloudTrail will take you to the CloudTrail service page. This is a CloudTrail service page. Okay, so there are a couple of options available. Basically, a short description of what a CloudTrail is, and then here on the right hand side, you can see create a trail with AWS CloudTrail. Get started with the AWS CloudTrail by creating a trail to log your AWS account activity. Let's click on this create a trail button. Okay, so now we are in a create trail page. Okay, so there are only two options that are coming up right now. One is the trail name, and then other one is the S3 bucket. In this case, it is the S3 bucket name is kind of a grayed out for a reason. The AWS will create S3 bucket for you, and then it has already populated that the name of the S3 bucket that it's going to create. Okay, so now we want to, our objective is to explore different options that are provided in the CloudTrail creation. Okay, let me click for that to see the different options available in the create trail workflow. Okay, so now we are coming to the create trail page where all the options are available to us. For example, this S3 bucket name option was grayed out in the previous page, but now I can make an edit depending on what I'm going to choose. For example, if I want to use the existing thing, then I can choose existing and then give the name. If I want to create something here, I can give the name, but I can choose the name accordingly to my convenience. Okay, let's start. Let's give a name to our trail. Let's keep it simple. It may not be unique. Demo trail. Okay, that's good enough to identify thing. So now that's the name of the trail. Now coming to the S3 bucket, as I said, CloudTrail trail will send the logs from CloudTrail service and it stores in the S3 bucket. Either I can choose a new bucket or I can create a new bucket. Okay, I can choose a new bucket, I can create a new bucket, or I can use an existing bucket. So let me choose the create new S3 bucket option. Let it create. So I will not make any changes to the name suggested by the AWS. But if you want to make any changes to the name of the S3 bucket, you can choose it accordingly. But you have to make sure that the name is globally unique. That is not taken by any S3 bucket in an AWS environment. Okay, that is S3 bucket. Let's move on to the next option. So you got another option here, log file SSE KMS encryption. Basically what it says is server-side encryption key management service. In most of the production scenarios, you would require to encrypt the logs that gets stored in a S3 bucket. Okay, so that means you need to create a key and then you can use that key to encrypt it. So it's a big topic for us to discuss in this demo. So right now we'll keep it visible so we can focus on the major part, that is creating a S3 bucket and then creating a CloudTrail and then sending the logs to the S3 bucket. And now we'll come to other option, the additional settings. We have another option called log file validation. This is enabled. Let's keep it enabled. This is a very important option when in the production environment. Basically, it helps us to validate the integrity of the data that is stored in the S3 bucket. So what is integrity? What is integrity check that we are doing, right? Basically, we are making sure that the data stored in S3 bucket are not modified. We have seen many times in the production environment that when a hacker gets access to the production environment or any S3 bucket or probably any AWS account, the first thing they are trying to do is to delete the logs from audit logs, right? They delete the audit logs because they want to cover up their trail. They don't want you to know what they have done, okay? Or they can also modify the content of the audit log so that they can mislead you in your investigation. To prevent all of that, let's keep this enabled. Okay, this helps you to protect from those kind of mischiefs and hackers might end up in doing it. Okay, so and this is also another important thing generally auditor look for. Make sure that your log file integrity is preserved. Let's not touch the SNS notification, that is not required. And also we are not going to enable CloudWatch logs. The last option is like tags. Let's give it a name, a simple name, demo trail. The tags are very important things. When you're dealing with the production environment in a huge companies where they have hundreds of AWS accounts managed by individual organization, it becomes a difficult thing for us to track individual resources. I've seen the, the keys or the tags that we configure to identify resources comes in handy when you want to do a lot of automated infrastructure management. I strongly suggest use tags when you configure any resources to meaningfully identify its usage, its purpose, and its owners. Right? That simplifies management of the resources in a complex deployments to a larger extent. Let's go to next. I choose the next thing. Now in this page, we are going to choose what kind of events that we want to capture. CloudTrail can capture a lot of different types of events, primarily management events, data event, and insight events. The management events are the critical events that one has to capture. So basically this includes what kind of operation that you do on AWS resources, creation, deletion, modification, changes, and all of that, right? So that is what management events are. The data events captures primarily on S3 buckets. If you look at that, what kind of objects you create, when do you access, what do you access, and all of that stuff. Insight events are special events. Basically, it helps you to identify unusual activity, errors, and user behavior in your account. It has additional cost to it, but right now we will only focus on management events. And again, on the management events, you have different type of activity. One is like read activity and write activity. We will capture both of it. And the next option is exclude AWS KMS events. AWS KMS events can be messy sometimes because like a lot of services uses KMS for encryption and decryption, and they might making calls, very frequent calls, depending on like what kind of objects are being used. So but they're also very important in debugging incidents, right? So let's not exclude that. By checking this, you're going to exclude it. By not checking that, you're going to include KMS events. KMS events will be logged. Exclude Amazon RDS data API events. We are not going to exclude it. Let's capture these events too. Okay, we are pretty much at the end of the page. We are going to go and click next. Okay, this is the review page. We are going to review all the configuration that we have done so far, and then make sure that we have not done any mistake. And if there is a mistake, then we can go and edit, click on edit button, and then make necessary changes. Okay, and for us everything looks good. Let's go to the end of the page and then click on create trail. Let's wait for a few minutes. Okay, it's got created. Voila, we successfully created a CloudTrail. The name of the trail is demo trail. Home region is US East region. This is a multi-region trail. Insights visible. This is not an organizational trail, and the S3 bucket into which these files are, the logs are redirected, and the status, it is logging. Fantastic. In this demo, we learned how to create a trail from the scratch, and also we explored different options available to make sure that the data, especially the API activities coming into S3 buckets, are safe and secure for future use. Thanks for watching, and we will connect in the next video. Thank you. Stay safe. Peace. Bye.